You don't wake up in the morning and see an elder and say, "Good morning, sir," and you stretch your hand to shake.
Wow. Hello, welcome to Noble TV Live with Lily Kevin. Today we're going to be looking at the threat to family values. Yes, we all know that the 21st century has got a hold on our youth, especially people seem to forget the basic family value, and they have actually thrown caution to the wind. Joining me on this conversation is Mr. Augustine Omilo. Good to have you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so what would you say about the threats to basic family value? Marrying it down to the present lifestyle of a youth, especially because they are the ones that have actually tend to go way beyond, not following the core value of the family.
You see, when you talk about threats to family values, I want to narrow it down to threats to African family values.
Okay, Africa.
Yes, because if you talk about family values in the UK, the traditions have remained, well, I don't want to say the same,
Okay.
because they have documented system. But in Africa, the system that we operate on or with are not documented. And therefore, there is this tendency of people going abroad for studies, for example, and they come back and want to inflict the ideas they have there on the traditional values in Nigeria or Africa. For example, in Owa, a Kano East local government area of Delta State, if you are a young man, you don't wake up in the morning and see an elder and say, "Good morning, sir," and you stretch your hand to shake.
Wow. Okay.
No. If an elder wants to shake you, he will be the one that will bring his hands and for you to shake.
First.
Yes,
Okay.
but what we are seeing now is a situation where a young man will say, "Good morning, sir," and he stretches his hand to shake. So that is because you are influenced by what you have seen outside.
The Western
Tradition and all that. So it's a threat. Another threat is the belief in religion, churches, mosques, and all that. So because what you study in the Bible, sometimes you want to translate into what you're supposed to get in your tradition. It doesn't work. These are threats. So now, if you actually want to live by what your tradition dictates, which is not always, in most cases, different from what the church or the traditional religion, the religions profess. They are not too different. But unfortunately, some people take it too far and begin to implement what the other persons, maybe Lagos people or London people, American people,
The Western world.
the Western world, the way they translate it, So those are the threats we have in our traditional family settings.
Okay, so how do you think
foreign ideas?
The core traditional values, how do you think they can be resuscitated? I think they can be imbibed back into the lives of the African child.
Yes. One of the ways, and of course the best ways, is to document our traditional systems and styles of livelihood. Because if these things are documented, it will mean that these things will be, from generation to generation. You can fall back to documents and see how your people respond to issues. But now what we have is oral traditional history, where stories are moved from one generation to the other orally, and sometimes there is distortions as a result of whoever is presenting the story or the history. But if they are documented, you know that this is the tradition of the people. If marriage, for example, now costs maybe like 40,000 naira in a particular place and is documented. So even if you are from maybe America or London, anywhere you are, and you want to marry in such a society, what you first of all need to do is to lay your hands on the documents regarding to marriage in such areas. And when you look at the provisions, you say, okay, so to marry in this place, I need to pay 40,000 naira. So now you will not be taken by storm or by surprise when they tell you that the bride price is 40,000. But in a situation where in a village you come to marry, and say they say because you are coming from maybe so place, the custom demands that you should pay 1 million naira as bride price, whereas somebody who is from the community is paying 10,000 naira bride price, because this is not documented. So it now varies from one family to the other. It depends now on how greedy or how desperate the families are. So you have to have these values documented.
Okay. Now, Mr. Augustine, let's look at the way children or kids were raised back then compared to nowadays. Now, you remember back then when your father, especially the fathers, those are the people that kids fear more than the mothers. And when the fathers return home, you see all kids running helter-skelter. Nobody wants to be found guilty of one offense or the other. You know, even when you're not reading your books, you just carry your book and you just have to pretend. In fact, pretense was very high in those days, but nowadays you see kids being so free with their parents. They don't even want to read. They want their parents to even bribe them sometimes to do things. Do you think we are actually in line, or we are falling apart from the tradition?
You know why I'm laughing? Because the example you gave you know, shows that you are from an informed home where probably your father was educated. My father wasn't.
Oh, okay.
And I'm from a polygamous home.
Okay.
So each time my father was served food, either from my mother or from my stepmother, he would keep the food. He won't eat until all of us, particularly the male children, were around. So he will call us. And who born you to say, my father said you should come and eat? Maybe now, for example, the food is served by my mother, and you now from my stepmother, and you say
you won't eat.
You don't want to eat.
It's
a punishment for that. So once my father comes and he says, hey you, where are you? Come. All of us will eat from the same pot.
Okay.
And if you don't, you'll be in trouble.
Okay.
And if my mother, for any reason, maybe my father notices that he's kind of feeling funny, you know, towards the children of the other woman, she would be in soup. And therefore, everybody was eager to comport with the administrative structure that has been put in place in the family.
Okay.
Yes. And if we go to school and we came back from school and you were asked to do some things, and maybe me now is the first person to, you know, break the news to my father, he'll be waiting for the other boy from my, you know, my stepbrother now to come and give the same
news.
Yes.
And he has to correspond.
Yeah, he has to correspond. And if he doesn't, it will look as if the mother is the one that is propelling him to give so there was very big discipline in the family. You know, all of us were working together to make sure that my father's instruction was the ultimate. I'm not, you know, so we didn't
simply different from what you see now.
Yes, it's so different from what you see now. If your father now is married to 2 wives, and maybe somehow you see your mother now, you say he's not accepting the other woman because he's an intruder or whatever, for whatever reason. It was not allowed because your father was in charge, and therefore the home was, as much as possible, united.
Is it possible to go back to those days?
Well, if you like, for those of us who are interested in a polygamous family, because the other time I was in this set, I said, yes, polygamous may not be wrong, morally speaking, but Augustine Omilo does not like polygamy.
All right, so what you're saying, in essence, is that we must uphold and respect our traditional core values and also imbibe them in our children. So even if they go to the Western world,
documentation,
they don't forget their roots. It's very important that they don't forget their roots. It's not a bad idea that we let our children go to the Western world probably to gain further more education or knowledge on things. But when they come back, they should always remember that home is home. Thank you very much, Mr. Augustine Omilo. So let's get your opinion on threats to basic family value. What do you think, and how do you think it can be curbed? Please do not forget to subscribe, like, and share Noble TV Live. I am Lily Kevin.